Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Sunday, meaning last night was AEW Collision, and also a certain, social media boxing event as well, which we're going to quickly touch on in a minute, but it was certainly a stacked episode of Collision. There's a lot to talk about coming out of the show, so I need a stacked panel, and firstly, the co-host of WR Daily, Clark Taylor. How are things, Clark?
I'm doing well. Honestly, it's funny. We talked about how this was a light weekend for wrestling and stuff. After the Logan Paul Dylan Dennis fight, and KSI Tommy Fury both happened same night. But after that, Collision, I really enjoyed this week. I thought it was fun. I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited about this Sunday. We've got a big week ahead of us. The headlines keep coming in, and I'm for it. This is a really, really, really interesting and exciting time in wrestling across all platforms and companies.
It absolutely is. Every day there's something going on. You can bet on that. But also joining us, the head of Opinion Shoot Wrestling Republic, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you today, Anthony?
Doing all right. Looking forward to watching the Eagles game later. Hopefully they're 6-0, and I got the Phillies game tomorrow night. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But as far as wrestling goes, it was an interesting show last night, and I'm sure we're going to be getting into it shortly.
Absolutely. I've given this fake football, or American football, or as you guys call it, football thing a try lately, and it's actually been very fun. I'm enjoying the red zone.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's still fake. But anyway, let's move right on to something else, which a lot of people claimed was fake, and that was Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis. I mean, it was not fake. But, I mean, this fight last night, right, of course, WWE superstar Logan Paul facing the internet troll, and as Clark put it, semi-professional grappler Dylan Dennis. I mean, of course, grappling-wise, Dennis, he's got a lot of achievements, but he tried to take Logan Paul down twice last night and failed both times in a boxing fight. This was an absolute embarrassment to boxing, and I'm not even a boxing fan, so I can't imagine how boxing fans feel about this one right now. But very noticeably, and we'll get into this in just a second, somebody was called out afterwards, which links back to WWE. But before that, Clark, what did you think? You're a boxing fan. What did you think about the fight between Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis? Of course, Logan Paul won, but what were your thoughts?
So first, I'll say Dylan Dennis's accomplishments in grappling are definitely they're commendable. He's very accomplished in that discipline. But as a fighter, he had the 2 Bellator fights, and he's backed out of a bunch more. He's most famous for working with Conor McGregor on grappling before he fought Nate Diaz. And I had a bad feeling. I said it last Monday, 6 days ago, that it would just be a lot of earmuffs and then hype. And that's kind of what it was. Logan put it on him as I expected. He didn't quite have the power to put him out, which would have been nice. It was what it was from an entertainment standpoint. I prefer high quality boxing. There's always storylines that goes into that personally, but I think there's an issue currently where we see boxers or people, their first introduction to boxing is this influencer boxing scene. And at the end of the day, that's not what it looks like That's not what a fight looks like, right? The storyline gets you there, the entrances get you there, and then you have these fights, and they're slap fests. The same thing happens pageantry wise in major boxing, and that's where I would say I hope that it doesn't turn the next generation away from real titles and real boxing.
Yeah, I mean, me and Kobe were, we were debating this with Clark beforehand because I was explaining this, right? A lot of, my generation and the years, a few years below me, like my younger brother's generation, they grew up watching these Twitch streamers, these YouTubers every single week. They feel like they're, friends with them, right? So when they see them step into the ring, a boxing ring, for a fight, that's so exciting. That brings them in. And this is where I'm going to slightly disagree with you, Clark, on. I think the way they've done it up to last night has actually helped boxing because they've done it where the co-main's usually a legitimate world championship, boxing fight, and it's usually, great fight, and then, of course, all these young kids find out who those, real boxers are, and then they have the main event match, which is usually, a decent fight, whatever, obviously very rocky, but whatever. Yesterday was an absolute embarrassment. There was one pro fight on the card, and I mean, when we tuned in for the mains, I mean, for the last few fights, that had already happened. So there was nothing there. And Dylan Dennis, I mean, he went for a takedown and a guillotine in a boxing fight. That was an embarrassment.
It was ugly. What Dennis did was ridiculous. That's the worst part. The whole show though is a little frustrating because DAZN is legitimate boxing, right? DAZN represents Canelo Alvarez and guys like that, and to have Dylan Dennis out there attempting guillotines, I mean, he pulled guard, right? He laid down on his back. It was silly, and for it to end by DQ was disappointing in and of itself. The call out of Rey Mysterio to me was the best part of the night.
Oh yeah, well
across the board.
Let's get right into that. Before I quickly do throw it under that, just one last question, Clark. If Dylan Dennis versus Logan Paul wasn't on that card and instead they had, a world championship boxing fight as that co-main, and then they did KSI Tommy Fury, so it still have a lot of eyes on it, but would you think it was such an insult to boxing if that was the case?
See, I think I wouldn't even mind them still doing that if they do have that one extra, actually legitimate fight, just to show you what it looks like.
Yeah, so younger fans know who they are.
Yeah, even if it's, a junior title, junior world title, or whatever it may be, just whether it be WBA, WBC, IBF, it doesn't matter which one, but a title that of relevance on the line, just to cut things up, because we had a lot of 5 or 6 round fights, which was just that's frustrating. That's MMA, right? That's just it's a hand pillow fight at that point. Or a punching contest. It's not boxing.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. But like you said, and like Bobby Batito says in the comments here, Logan Paul called out Rey Mysterio. With millions of people, watching this fight, Logan Paul grabbed the mic. They asked him, what's next for Logan Paul in, boxing? And he goes, actually, my real passion is WWE, and I have my eyes on a championship. I have my eyes on Rey Mysterio's championship, the United States Championship, and I want it. Rey Mysterio, he's pretty much a household name, right? Let's be real about it. He gets overlooked. I've said this before. People overlook how big of a draw he is. His mask is iconic with WWE, with professional wrestling. It's kind of like I don't think people realize how big of a draw Rey Mysterio is at times, right? So a lot of these fans will know who Rey Mysterio is, who don't watch WWE. They've just heard Logan Paul, call him out. Now they're hooked in. Now they want to watch it. But Anthony, how do you think this is going to go? And are you excited for Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul?
I think it's a smart PR move to call him out during that with so many eyes on it. I've been saying Mysterio really doesn't need the U.S. title, and ideally you want a heel to take the belt off of him, because I've been saying that I think LA Knight would be the guy, but LA Knight's not going to feud with Mysterio. It's two faces. So you need a heel to take it, and there's nobody more easily hateable than Logan Paul. And I think that would be a smart move. You take the belt, have him beat a legend, a Hall of Famer in Mysterio as his obnoxious self, and you have LA Knight feud with him. I think that would benefit everybody involved. LA Knight would eventually take the belt off of him, and I think that's a smart play.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And I agree. I don't think Logan Paul should be the one to, well, I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe you do that in LA Night, like you were saying. That certainly could be interesting. But we'll have to wait and see, how LA Knight Roman Reigns goes first, and all of that, which of course is happening at Crown Jewel. And Bobby Petito's asking, when will it happen? Yeah, I think Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see about that one. But Anthony, I do agree with you. LA Knight should certainly be getting his hands on that United States Championship at some point, because he could really run with that championship. He could do I guess the face version of what Gunther's done with the Intercontinental Championship, and really make it feel like an important championship. And it's a lot easier as well when you have a main champion on that brand who's not always there. So if you have LA Knight win that championship, maybe at the Rumble, you still have, well, I mean, I said it before, I personally think Roman's going to hold the title until, quite a few months after WrestleMania. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But something we're not going to have to wait and see about is last night's AEW Collision, because we saw the Bang Bang Club, Bullet Club Gold, and we saw Juice Robinson in action against Christopher Daniels, a man who we haven't seen too much lately on AEW TV. Of course, he had that gimmick change about a year or so ago now, this darker, well, kind of darker version of Christopher Daniels. We've seen that on Ring of Honor a lot, but he was on AEW television. He was on AEW Collision to take on Juice Robinson. And every time I see Juice Robinson, I think, this guy, he has it. Ignacio said it months ago, but it's true, right? This guy is he's a sports entertainer. He's somebody who on American soil is even better than he was in Japan. In Japan, I saw him very much as, a mid-card, lower mid-card guy. Here in AEW, I think he could very easily be a future multi-time TNT champion, international champion, whatever. This guy has main event or very upper mid-card potential for me, and he got the win over CD Christopher Daniels. A decent little match, and then after the match, Juice Robinson called out MJF once again and said that he is going to win his Dynamite ring next week, when he, of course, enters that battle royale for it. The winner will face MJF in a few weeks, I believe in Philadelphia in a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. But that is certainly interesting, and I'm completely down for a Juice Robinson MJF match before we get Jay White versus MJF. So I'm presuming Juice will be the one to win the battle royale this Wednesday night on Dynamite. But Clark, give me your take.
I don't see in Juice what you guys see in Juice. I thought he was pretty solid in Japan. I don't get him, like the blowing snot rockets and then the cutting the promos that are weirdly laced with innuendo most of the time. I don't see it. I think he's solid in the ring. I don't know about his moveset. Like, the finisher is okay. And the rest of it is okay. But athletically speaking, he's not on the level of, I think, more charismatic wrestlers around his age group. I don't necessarily see it outside of the look and the association with, or him being associated with Jay White. Maybe not my cup of tea. Predictably, he beat Daniels last night, which I enjoyed. It was nice to see Christopher Daniels back on TV, and it felt a little bit like, in my eyes, Christopher Daniels giving him the rub, but I don't know. I mean, the ring spot was kind of awkward with the proposal type thing was goofy, and then the it not being had they stolen, when Excalibur said that they may have also stolen the ring, had that been the case, I'm all for it. Oh, I'm all over that. MJF comes up and goes, wait a minute, you stole the ring too? Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. But that's not what happened. It was a fake ring, and then he did the bought it for $20. Like, okay. Like, so you pulled a stunt on Christopher Daniels, and given MJF's character who you're yelling at, does he have any empathy for Christopher Daniels? No. That's not, even as a babyface, that's not who MJF is. And so I just felt like it was disconnected for me. But I do see talent and charisma. I just don't feel like it's to the level where he's a multiple time TNT champ or due for a huge push. That is not who I would put the new Dynamite Diamond ring on.
No, I mean, I'd just be clear, I wouldn't have Juice actually win it. I'd have him win the Battle Royale to earn the chance and then MJF to beat him. But I mean, to me, Juice Robinson, look, like if you look at the numbers his segments are doing, clips are going viral from them, pretty much almost every week. He's just got a lot of charisma about him. I will agree, though, the ring was cheesy as anything. I will agree.
Brutal. It was brutal.
Ben, in all honesty, I agree with Clark. I don't see much in Juice. I really don't. I think it's a poor man's Macho Man. And in a lot of ways, he reminds me of
awesome.
You remember the Honeycombs mascot, Clark? The crazy character? He completely ripped that off. You look up 1995 Honeycombs cereal mascot, it's Juice Robinson.
That's so true. That's actually spot on. like that's very spot on. That's hilarious.
You guys need to just appreciate Juice Robinson a bit more, I think. But let's now move on and let's talk about three people who I think are very much underappreciated too. So maybe you guys think, well, these guys should be buried and sent to the Job Nation as well. But Roosh returned. He made his AEW return in a promo package last night on a night where in like the second row there was actually a sign saying "Where's Roosh?" So the timing there was actually quite funny. But it was him, Preston Vance, and Dralistico together. And these guys, they look awesome together. This video package was brilliant. Roosh, he should be a main event talent. He has that gimmick. This faction could be a top faction in AEW. These guys should be in like the next Blood and Guts or whatever it is, right? They should be that level because this faction has that talent. I've watched Roosh for years and he's exceptional. But he also has the look. He has the look where you're like, okay, this would be awesome. And here's the thing, right? And I've said it before and I'll say it again. WWE, when they show a promo package like that, usually that they will become a big deal. AEW quite regularly have these awesome video packages for these mid-card guys, but then just nothing translates to television itself. And that's what I'm worried about here, but I'm really, really hoping last night was the start of a push for I can never say it. I've never been able to say it when it's in Japan or whatever. But Ingolables, the AEW, I guess. But Anthony, what did you think about this? And do you think they could be getting a push?
I'm the same way you are, Ben. I can't pronounce the thing. I don't even attempt to it. I feel like I'm the one with the shovel here. I got to be honest. I've never seen anything in Roosh. I don't think he sells well. I don't think he's a good storyteller in the ring. I think it was a decent promo package. It reminded me of the old Evolution promo packages that WWE did when they were introducing the group. I understood what they were trying to do with it as, this dangerous threat is coming back to AEW. And, the trios division and everyone else in AEW should be afraid of them. I get what they were trying to do. I'll be perfectly honest. I even forgot they were even working there. I didn't miss them. I hate to say it, I don't care. I have zero interest in this group at all.
I mean, guys, I know Ignacio was meant to be on the show today and had to pull out, right? But there's no need for you guys to do an Ignacio double act and just bury everybody under the sun.
I give you my honest opinion.
Put a lot of people
That's
over
why
in
you
the
have
next
me as the
segment.
head
I
of
promise.
opinions.
I'm about to put a lot of people over in the next segment. You're good.
Well, Bobby Petito, I'm Team Bobby today, right? It's me and Bobby versus you two. Agrees that Juice Robinson is great and has the potential to be a champion.
Bobby, we
in
rarely disagree.
AEW.
I think he has the potential to be champion, but I just don't see that he's shown it.
He could be
Oh,
champion if he makes a fake one, like the FTW title. He could totally be a champion.
that sounds like something he'd actually do, though, to be fair. But, I mean, they did it with a ring. Anthony Manzano's in the chat. Hello, Anthony. And yes, we got two Anthonys right now. Well, Anthony Manzano agrees with you. He's tired of Juice Robinson's character as well. But let's move on and let's talk about a character who, well, he's kind of getting repackaged right now, and that is Sky Blue. Of course, she had the mist to the face from Julia Hart lately, and now she's doing that Julia Hart Sky makeup too, with a bit of a blue tint to it, just to, spice things up a little bit. And she took on Chris Statlander, right? And I'm going to be honest, this match, it started a bit slow and a tiny bit sloppy when it first started, but once it got underway, this match was way better than it had any right to be. These two women killed it, and in the end, I for a second believed that Sky Blue might do it, and then Chris Statlander out of nowhere got the win, and is still the TBS Women's Champion. Fun match, fun segment. I'm looking forward. I'm excited that they've given Sky Blue a bit more character now. I'm excited to see where that can go. And yeah, I said it a few weeks ago. We need more characters in this AEW Women's Division, and we're starting to get them. But Clark, what did you think about this women's match?
Sky Blue's awesome. The match was awesome, and if this leads to Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, which it should, Willow is the most over babyface in the women's division in my eyes, and should be. She is. She's awesome. And Sky Blue, given the history with Julia Hart, what happened, the match was wrestled excellently, like you said, after a slow start. I don't mind a slow start to a match like this from time to time. It's fine. I enjoyed every second of it, and I really enjoyed the follow-up with the look to help up Sky, and then Willow handles it, but you're still not sure if Sky Blue's even concerned with what Willow thinks. And we lead to the next thing. I really like that setup for eventually Nightingale Statlander. That's a pay-per-view match. That's the one I want to see, and I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is actually leading to Willow versus Sky Blue, a heel Sky Blue in the House of Black. And that's why I have a feeling this is going. And I also have a feeling
I wouldn't hate that either along the way.
I do have a feeling as well we might be leading a tag team championships in this women's division. It's got a lot of criticism lately, about Tony Khan not giving the women enough time. I feel like he might be considering adding some tag team championships there. So
is that Ben when we debut Mercedes Moné?
Oh, maybe. I mean, unfortunately, Trinity's an Impact, so I don't think she'll be jumping over. But who knows?
They never lost the titles, right?
Well, they didn't. But Trinity, I don't know if I can see Impact and AEW working together right now. But who knows? Maybe they're the two to mend that relationship.
Just saying.
But I mean, Julia Hart obviously is taking some time off. She's just gotten married. She's going on her honeymoon now. She's confirmed this publicly. But, yeah, I mean, once Julia Hart does get back, maybe Sky Blue will be in the House of Black too. They'll be a tag team together. I'd be down for that because Julia Hart deserves some gold. But, yeah, you just need more characters in this women's division. And every time we see, somebody with a character. I mean, even Willow. We've praised Willow over the last few months. She hasn't got much of a backstory, I guess, to her that, people know of. But she's just so positive and this positive character that's a character in its own right? She's not just going out there. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to use Sky Blue as an example right now before this week when, she's now doing this eye thing. She was just a great wrestler, whatever. She, got the crowd going a bit. But, why should we care? There's nothing really about her other than she's, good wrestler, got a good look. But she's got no real character to her. Whereas Willow's got a character, Sky Blue's now getting a character, Julia Hart's got a character. And it's quite simple, guys. Give people characters and give people, reasons to care about them. It's Professional Wrestling 101. We got a few comments here. Firstly, Bobby Petito saying he could see Willow, like you, Clark, challenging next for the TBS Championship. Jacob is saying NFL Red Zone. Shout out to earlier in the show when I was talking about that. It's confusing him.
That's unbelievable. We'll see you after the show, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll explain that to you after the show. For now, you don't need to be confused about that. Just hopefully don't be confused by us. But Anthony Manzano saying, honestly, because of the slow start, I kind of lost interest, Clark, and I changed the channel. Oh, we missed the banger in the end.
The match did turn up. I will say I considered it myself, but there wasn't anything else on that was relevant.
And you also technically had a show to do today, so
yeah, I personally, stuck through it. Hoping.
Well, I could have watched it in the morning.
I mean, I do that, to be fair. But Bobby Petito says Sky Blue has all the potential, and he doesn't think that they're turning. And Anthony Manzano doesn't think they're turning Sky Blue heel. He thinks they're just trying to give her an edge as a babyface. I mean, maybe, but
interesting.
Talking about Edge, we'll get onto him in just a little bit, but firstly, let's talk about CJ Perry, the wife of Miro. Because, of course, ever since Miro rejected her services and said that I am no longer considering you my wife, I am getting rid of you from my life because I need to focus on championship gold. Well, she decided she wants some more clients, and Action Andretti said, hey, I hear your pitch, and I'm interested. Well, Miro wasn't very interested in that. In a very Miro-esque promo later on in the night, he just completely and utterly just took out Action Andretti. It was brutal and just left him for dead. It's announced that next week on Collision we're getting Miro versus Action Andretti. Maybe CJ Perry could be a deciding factor in that, because Action Andretti, we just spoke about people with no character. He debuted, beat Chris Jericho. He should be in the upper mid-card scene by now. If that's your debut, this guy should have been given a huge push, and we've got no reason to care about him. CJ Perry could well be that reason. Let's hope that CJ screws Miro next week and helps Action Andretti get the win. Anthony, what did you think about this segment? And do you think we could see CJ Perry and Miro back in cahoots very soon?
Honestly, the professional wrestling has always been accused of being a male soap opera. That's what this story is. It's a male soap opera. This is something you would see on daytime TV, where Miro doesn't want CJ, but he doesn't want anybody else to have her either. It's so telegraphed that, eventually they're going to get back together. And Action Andretti, which is a horrible name, by the way, and the same people that brought you Big Bill and what was it, Thunder something or other last night, Thunder Floyd or whatever it was. He was just the jobber to job out last night. I'm not, ultimately that's where this is going to lead. Even if Action went with CJ Perry, he's not going to be a star out of that. More people are interested in CJ Perry than they are with him. It's the same problem WWE has with Scarlett and Karrion Kross. Scarlett's the star, Kross isn't. It's happened before. Sable was the star, and Mark Marrow wasn't. It's the same problem that they've had for years in wrestling, where the female star is the real star here. Ultimately, they're probably going to get back together. I don't know how long they're going to drag this out, but that's where it's going. That's my guess.
No, absolutely. I mean, I honestly don't even think that it's necessarily a bad thing when, the valet, the manager, for a certain amount of time becomes like the bigger star, as long as it ends up getting eyes to, the person who they're managing. Those cases you mentioned.
It didn't work for Mark Marrow.
It didn't work for him.
I think another one that I would give that's a weird example is, I think Stacy Keibler and the Dudleys was a dud. No pun intended there. That was a big mistake, and it didn't work because she was a babyface and they were heels.
Well, they didn't need that. They were. I mean, remember, this is the tag team that put an old Mae Young through a table. So, like, does this
With a
really
power
scream?
bomb.
Does this scream the stable that needs a female valet? No,
Oh, that's
She
true.
looked good in that camo.
she did.
Yeah,
The Duchess
true.
of Dudleyville. That was her name.
No,
They
I
called her
know.
the
I
Duchess of
I
Dudleyville.
completely forgot about. I completely forgot that that's what they called her until you said it. Then I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
the
yeah. I
Duchess
can't
of
remember I saw it
Dudleyville.
in one of the old magazines back in the day.
Shout out Stacy Keebler.
Oh my
Best ladies in the
gosh.
business.
I mean, complete side note, but I don't know about you guys, but growing up as a kid, I always used to get the WWE magazine every single
Same.
month, and that was a highlight.
I kept the
for me.
trading cards.
Oh yes. Oh, I wonder if
Remember,
I still
you
have
get like
mine.
a free one with it every now and again.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of
It's
the
the best.
covers, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Dudleys and Stacy, and it had a entering Dudleyville sign. Wasn't that
I think that's
the
right.
famous cover?
That was in
Yeah.
before my time, but
Thanks, Ben.
Ben was yet to be alive.
I mean, in mine there was Kofi Kingston merch now and again. I mean that's and that
That'd
was
be
like
huge.
I
We
was
should
like,
get
like
Miss
I
Sands.
was like 6 years old. That
He
tells you.
he still had the Jamaican accent then.
Yeah, he
Wow.
did. This was like very early Kofi. This was just
Before
when
we
he
get
debuted.
really deep into magazines, I used to get Sports Illustrated for kids.
So did I.
And that was the funniest one ever. 'Cause You
Oh,
get a poster with
that's
every.
good.
You get a poster with every one.
I remember
Bobby
that.
Petito saying, how about Maurice with The Miz? This is an example, actually, where Maurice for a little bit was overshadowing The Miz, and then The Miz got to the exact same level, and then they were like,
Yeah,
whatever.
but they didn't get together right away. Miz was
I
already
also
They
established
didn't.
by the
Yeah,
time
that's
they,
true.
by
I
the time they
think-
got together.
It's interesting because you could actually even argue, though, towing the line isn't a bad thing because Miss Elizabeth was about as over as
Yeah, that's
Macho
my point,
Man
yeah.
at
Yeah,
certain
but-
times.
You can do
Towing
it if
the
you do it
line
right.
isn't a bad thing, and that's what I would say the Miz and Maurice did in relation to other examples that we've given.
Mhm.
Better than others, right? They towed the line of Maurice being more over. It's not about the male versus female dynamic necessarily.
Mm-mm.
It's valet versus, you know what I mean? Like, you know, at a certain point, Jade Cargill on the way up had a voice next to her with,
Yeah.
right?
Smart
And
Mark
the opposite
Sterling.
went Smart Mark.
Mhm.
And the line was towed at times where he's speaking on her behalf, but then it really comes down to Jade
He
being
never
over.
seemed bigger than
And
her.
I think it's about the in-ring talent. That's where you look at managers like Bobby Heenan, and the Heenan family was more over than Bobby Heenan, but
Well, 'cause-
Bobby
'cause
Heenan was still the guy. You look at Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Heyman is right. You know what I mean?
they know how to put
and
those
that's not
focus
to be
on their
those are
clients.
and this
that's-
isn't like a
yeah.
male versus female argument
Mhm.
either, like at all, because sensational Sherry, the way she managed Sean, outstanding, right? It's
Mhm.
just, it's one of those things. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. But talking about interesting dynamics, let's talk about Christian Cage and his two new sons. Because, of course, Christian Cage blessed us all appearing and wrestling last night on AEW Collision. And Christian Cage, you know, he opened the show. I can't remember if it was him or Edge who opened the show, but in the end, everybody was out. Ricky Starks came out. FTR came out. It was an absolute free-for-all. Bryan Danielson came out. Nobody had a clue what was going on in that opening segment of Collision. It was a complete and utter mess, but I mean that in the best way. It was a lot to keep up with, but it was the craziness that kind of hooks you into that show. Something which WWE have done a lot over the years. AEW in Dynamite, they usually start it with a match. Collision, you know, they've taken a different approach at times. And this worked, I thought, amazingly. And then, of course, in the main event, Christian Cage defended and successfully defended his TNT Championship against Bryan Danielson. And this match, oh, this was a banger of a bout. It was honestly, for me, one of the best TV matches this year. Christian Cage's heel work in the ring, like he does he's somebody who's only as a heel doing very simple things, but he just does them so well. Bryan Danielson, there's nothing that needs to be said. He's amazing every time he steps between those ropes, and I feel like now we know this is his final year full time. We're kind of appreciating him a little more. But yeah, this was excellent. But in the end, Bryan Danielson had the LeBell lock in, and we thought, oh no, there's going to be a new TNT champion. But no, Ricky Starks came, and he clearly wants a new father figure in his life because he assisted Christian Cage and helped him retain the championship, and then an all-out brawl broke out. FDR came running down. Starks and Big Bill. So Big Bill came running down. Starks was already there. Edge came running down. And then, of course, his two sons, Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus, came down as well. It was a complete and utter mess to end the show. But again, now I want to watch next week. This is how you hook people in. But yeah, this Christian Cage stuff is... I'll say it right now. This Christian Cage stuff is the best stuff in AEW right now. The story, yes, it's a bit cringe, but it's just so fun. It's so enjoyable. It's sports entertainment, done right. Bryan Danielson then, mix it with him just being phenomenal in the ring and having this great series of matches right now. And this was just, chef's kiss, right? This was absolutely phenomenal. And Nick Wayne will be having a sit-down interview with his mum on AEW Dynamite this week. So let's hope Christian Cage interrupts that as well, because we all know Christian Cage is the new father figure in Nick Wayne's life. But Anthony, what did you think about this entire situation? Bryan Danielson, Cage, Edge, FTR, Starks. It's a lot to keep up with, a lot of moving parts, but what were your thoughts on it?
To me, there is nobody in wrestling in the past 25 years that has been more underrated than Christian. Christian is one of the best to ever do it, and so is Danielson. These two know how to put together a match. They know how to give quality storytelling. The TNT Championship, as we've talked about before, as I've buried before, in the sense that title for AEW has really kind of been the 24/7 title, where the title reigns don't matter. They keep changing. None of it matters. Christian is the type of guy that could bring value to this title. Having a decent reign with it, putting on competitive matches with Danielson like we saw last night, that's how you bring value back to the title. AEW has a problem. They have too many titles. WWE has that issue too. But that's the thing. It's very hard to maintain a value of this if you barely use it or if you overdo title changes. TNT title should mean something. And I think Christian's the right guy to do it. The opening segment, it was all right. I mean, Adam taking shots at Ricky Starks for stealing the Rock's look. That's been said a million times, so that's nothing really surprising there. I thought it was a great way to end the show with Cage and Danielson.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a great way to start and end the show here. But I got distracted just for a second then, because I saw just a ridiculous comment here. Such a ridiculous claim from Anthony Manzano, who was claiming, and with no evidence, no proof, just lies, fake news, hashtag fake news, that he feels Christian is playing he's acting like a cult leader. He's a cult leader, diluting the minds of young kids such as Nick Wayne. I think that is disgraceful. Christian Cage, he's the salt of the earth.
Helping him out.
He's being the father figure. He's been absolutely great. He's helping. He's going to turn Nick Wayne into a superstar.
Giving him masculine influence.
The world needs more kind people like Christian Cage. It really does.
I mean, how many people can pull off a sleeveless turtleneck besides Christian Cage? I would say none. And
maybe Nick Wayne might learn.
To be able to pass that down to the next generation of superstars is just, it's hard to quantify the work that he's put in. I mean, look at Jungle Boy. Obviously, things have gone great for Jack Perry since he was under the tutelage of Christian Cage. He's been nothing but featured on television. and he broke out. He got Beethoven as his entrance music. You thought Baltimore was expensive? How about Beethoven? I'm just saying. And you add in the fact that Christian is finally getting the recognition that he deserves after all of these years for his mind in the wrestling business. The way, I mean, Luchasaurus added on a spiked shoulder pad. And the next thing you know, we take him seriously. It changed the entire dynamic of Luchasaurus's character. All he did was add the spiked shoulder pad. Really simple. That had to be Christian Cage's influence. I don't see it any other way. I am 100% behind Christian Cage on this one.
Absolutely. He is, he's a chop guy, and Anthony Manzano, I can see you there. You're saying, Ben, that's the point of a cult leader. Absolutely no way. He's just a nice guy. He's what the world needs. I'm having none of that. None of those claims right there. I thought maybe you need Christian Cage in your life, Anthony Manzano. But there's another comment here saying, Anthony to Anthony, he thinks The Miz is more underrated than CD Christopher Daniels. I mean, Anthony, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Miz is underrated, but there's nothing like Christian. Christian he has all the tools. Miz is a great character, don't get me wrong, but Christian has shown time and time again through 3 different companies that he is one of, if not the best on the card. He's dominated Impact, AEW. He's having probably one of the best runs of his career, and he had a phenomenal run in WWE both times. Christian is probably, without a doubt, when everything is said and done, having one of the best careers of all time. Oh, he could get anybody over, and I like The Miz. I'm not saying that, but Christian, he's never gotten the recognition. He doesn't have. I mean, he has a couple world title reigns, but really, a company's really never really gotten behind him other than Impact, and AEW now is sort of pushing him, but they still haven't given him a world title there.
See, I think The Miz as a whole is properly rated. Christian has always been underrated. That's where I would go with that one.
Edge was always the focus was always on Edge. Edge was always the guy. As far as WWE was concerned, they always viewed Christian, nice utility player, but he's the star. You're the Jannetty. No, he's better than Jannetty. Yeah, like
he invented the spear. Nobody did the spear before him. Nobody. You go back and watch anything. If you see anything, it's doctored footage. It's fake news, right? You can go back and all the times it was done. WWE have a thing against him, right? They have a conspiracy theory where they've gone back in time and they've had people do the move before him just to make it look like it wasn't him who created it.
But it's true. He invented it.
Kill switch, you know that, right? Like, you could have just went with that.
No, it's a spear. Didn't you hear Nigel McGuinness last night?
The spear is the one that
Nigel McGuinness said it. Do you think Nigel McGuinness would lie to you?
He actually was he wrote a letter to Goldberg the first time Goldberg used it.
Yeah.
Telling him not to.
So out of spite, Goldberg took out Bret Hart. Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah, I mean,
no, that's why he didn't use the spear. He was afraid.
It's a little known fact, actually, but every time Goldberg hit a spear, which of course was a lot during his long undefeated run, he actually had to pay royalties. He had
invented the spear. Goldberg, you're joking.
Goldberg, he had to pay Christian Cage royalties every single time he hit that, right? And that is now how Christian Cage has this money to support all of his kids and be the father figure that the entire world needs.
This whole time.
And it's that turtleneck. I'm not telling you, Clark. That's not something from TK Maxx. That is a very expensive turtleneck. Yes. All right, that costs more than some of Carty Cornet's scarves. All right,
no, it's a
lot of money.
It's a designer turtleneck.
It is
stylish. They've actually removed the sleeves to allow him to deliver
just for him.
The most perfect spear.
The spear and then the kill shot as well. But guys, if you want more expert analysis, expert opinions like we've just dropped you, then you guys can ask for our opinions via our Instagram story, because tomorrow is Mailbag Monday, where we will be taking your questions for us. We'll be having quite a few debates. It's going to be a very fun episode. So make sure to check that out. Same time tomorrow. But thank you guys for putting up with us today and tuning in for this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, a cheeky 5-star is always helpful. Thank you to everybody in the comments as well. And we will see you guys tomorrow. And last but not least, thank you to Anthony and thank you to Clark for joining me. And we will see you guys tomorrow.